Welcome to Lead Live, reminding you of your personal genius and how you think in order to actualize what you desire.
Gratitude to everyone. This episode of Lead Live, I have the honor to discuss with us the topic of inner peace, a path to leadership successes. And to my pleasant surprise, I was inspired to create that title. And when I sought to just review some of the books I've read over the years, and then went online and read a number of articles, I was pleasantly surprised to note that there's a lot on inner peace and the power of inner peace in terms of leadership. They're individuals who I especially value because they've been in executive leadership roles and they've experienced turmoil. A few of them I'll mention today. And yet, through it, they were able to sustain a level of peace that they had to, for some, work on themselves to get to that space. Some of us call it the zone, that zone that seems to be absolutely perfect peace. It's like the eye of the storm. Reportedly, I've never been there. I've just heard from researchers that in the middle of a storm is perfect peace. In the middle of chaos, it's perfect peace. Even in the midst of a lot of things that have occurred over the last 15, 20 years, and much longer than that, and throughout human history, there's places in the same space on the planet where there's major conflict, and yet there's absolute perfect peace. Why is peace so important? And I ask the question, why isn't that just the normal state where we experience that and it's ubiquitous? That question is really not to necessarily for us to answer today. Question is really about inner peace. I call it a state of freedom. And what does that mean? It's a deliberate psychological, spiritual calm, despite the stuff that's happening around us. And sometimes even because of the things that are around us. And what is it? It's an ability to find happiness, to be content, to experience bliss, even in the midst of a lot of activity. I remember colleagues used to say, "Oh my goodness, you just help us with that conflict. Why are you so calm?" And I couldn't answer the question because I didn't know I was calm. I knew that the matter was serious and I knew that we had to address it in a systematic way. But one person came to me and really shook me at my core, and not because I valued her, I valued all the folks who were giving me feedback at different levels, based upon different levels of emotional engagement and friendship, etc. Well, this one person, who's one of my advisors, said, "I have thrown everything I could at you intentionally to shake you up, to create what appeared to be some external evidence of discord within you. And it didn't work. What's going on with you? Who are you? You're just a natural born leader." And I don't know if that's the case. I took the compliment. I was confused. My first thought was, why are you trying to create discord? Why are you trying to shake me up? And that was her perspective about how to help me become an exceptional leader. And so I want to remind us, sometimes people go at us, not because they really want to harm us, but because they believe that's the way to so-called build leadership, build character, ensure you're able to thrive. Well, unfortunately, some of us don't benefit from that. And that means some of us are harmed by it. So how can we allow ourselves to, even in the midst of people trying to be helpful, like that advisor was really trying to be helpful, although it was very painful. How can we find a way to go there, be there, and stay there? And just to close the story on me, just in part, I believe that I got there because of my early childhood traumas. I just realized I could either stay in trauma, stay in flight mode, or I can choose to just recognize crap happens and I can choose to shift things. And that's why I came up with years ago shifts happen. Literally, I could shift things in an instant. People coming at me, they have a right to feel the way they feel. They don't have a right to come at me in a way that harms me. And so I just shift so that I make certain I put out the energetic forces to say, you have a right to be you. You don't have a right to invade my space in a way that harms me. And that means I have to be responsible, not responsible for them or even their behavior. I have to be responsible for how I respond, not react, but respond in a strategic way. So, why this topic? I firmly believe, first of all, that when we have an inner peace, it's primarily, whether it's conscious or unconscious, we understand our life purpose. And so when we're moving in a certain direction and things come to us that complement, we are predisposed to be able to receive it because we know our life purpose. When things detract us, we're predisposed to get right back on the right path because we understand that was just a little blip. We needed to let that do its thing. When we have a clear life purpose, we're likely to be centered and more at peace. Also, we're likely to value what we call and honor here at Lead Live and Signature Solutions and all the teams that I work with intimately, the 5Fs. We have a purpose. We probably have a clear faith. Spiritual faith, whether it's a faith in God, the Great Spirit, ancestors, the universe, the universal laws, we have profound faith. We also understand or likely to honor family, whether it's family we created, family we were born into, or both, or more. Others create for us. We're likely to value the importance of our well being, our physical well being, our emotional well being, and the degree to which we take care of our bodies in terms of what we take in and not just food. The nutrition is powerful, critical to our bodies being able to sustain, retain, reinforce, heal, magnify. You can find all kinds of adjectives. Our bodies are powerful. And the degree to which we take in the right substance, food, nutrition, clean water, clear air, oxygen, thoughts, vibratory patterns through other people's statements, sounds, the degree to which we take in the right healthy stuff, we are more fit. I'm going to come back to that in a second. And then having our purpose allows us to do what? It allows us to honor that we have a right to allow our money to work for us. You're like, how did money come from there? Well, what do we need as humans at this time until we don't need it? We need the means of exchange in order to do the things that we need to do for ourselves to take care of ourselves, take care of our families, our communities, our society. We need that means of exchange. Instead of working so hard for it, well, we harm our bodies. We don't take care of our families because we're not there for our families. We have our money work for us. All of a sudden, wow, we have time. We can do more that allows us to get closer to that purpose more efficiently. And at purpose, ideally, is just honoring all the rest of us. That's about that faith, the family, the well-being, fitness. So yes, having our money work for us is powerful. And folks, if you've not seen a previous Lead Live broadcast, we encourage you to take advantage of previous ones where we focus on that. And we will be focusing on it next week again. The importance of your financial fitness, the importance of your financial health, the importance of having your money work for you. You work hard for that money. Save a significant percentage. If you can't save 60%, save at least 40%. If you can't do that, 20%. Save, 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 and then put it in instruments and let it turn around and compound and work for you. So that $20 become $40. That $100 becomes $200. That 1,000 becomes 20,000. That 100,000 becomes 200,000. That million becomes 5 million. You get my point. You don't have to work the rest of your life to get what you need in order to facilitate the rest of your life, so that that purpose that you have, that drives you, that sustains you, it gives you peace of mind because you know where you're going. It's easier to attain. And the peace of mind is even more revealed for you. And then what's else? Fun. I said faith, family, fitness, finance, fun. All of those are preconditions to what? When all of those are exactly as you need them to be, as you want them to be, freedom. They're preconditions to real freedom. And when you know where you're going, you know where that purpose is. Oh my God, you don't sweat the small stuff. So you get upset with your partner. You know you love her. You know you love him. You know you love them. Those loved ones. And you just like, okay, let me walk away because I may be off today and I may have created that. So start with self. Ah, she or he are always off. What is my contribution? Because I'm in this relationship. So something must be off with me too. How can I heal to facilitate something better? And that's not just in an intimate, private relationship, that's in our workplace. That's with colleagues. That's with leaders in the community with whom we work, and we need for them to lead in a way that reveals the same kind of healthy level of inner peace. When you love, when you live with passion, when you're clear, oh my God, a level of peace. It doesn't really matter stuff is happening around you. You're better able to address that stuff around you. So, what is peace leadership or inner peace as a leader? It reflects one with an inner compass, gives clear direction, and when others are confused, they are able to leverage that level of clarity and realign so that they're aligned with the vision and they can operationalize the mission, demonstrate the core values, and oh my goodness, get out the way. And there's been chaos. Last year was absolutely crazy. This year, for a lot of people, it's not much better, quite frankly. You know what? That can be what it is. And yet there could be absolute internal peace getting you to your ultimate purpose, life purpose. So, what am I talking about? I'm really talking about what we used to call, and we still call, a state of flow. What is flow? It's when things seem to just be, everything seems to be perfect. I remember being in states of flow that were just so awesome. I was just overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed. And what was that state of flow, as an example? I remember finally, after many traumatic experiences, which I won't go into right now, I was able to sit down and write my dissertation. And I was in a state of flow. Didn't even know it. I didn't even know what flow was. And yet I had experienced many times before. Never heard the concept of flow. Years ago, I'm sitting down and I'm writing. And oh my goodness, it's like the light turned on and nothing could turn it off. And I'm writing and I'm organizing. And if I can't write, I'm reading. If I can't read, I'm thinking. If I can't think, I'm writing. If I can't do that, I'm walking. I'm running the track. I'm I'm in the best physical state that I've ever been in my life at that moment. Running the track every morning. I've got a regimen. I read, I write, I think, I reflect, I'm silent, and then I stop. And then I take a nap in the afternoon, and then I go back to my stuff. And within 30 days, I've written my dissertation. Everyone told me it'd take you a year, 6 months, whatever. 30 days, I've written that dissertation. Gift to myself. I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh my God, what did I do here? And then, of course, I'm rapid to try to find someone to edit it because I knew that it need multiple edits. Out of over 30 people I contacted, they were all swamped. At Cal at that time, UC Berkeley, no one was available. And I thought, oh my God, I'm not a good editor. And so I got books on editing and I just edited. And over a few months, edited, sent it to one of my advisors. He had one correction. Sent it to another advisor. He had a lot of minor and then one major correction. Sent it to another advisor, no correction. I'm like, what the heck? That's called being in the flow. Another time, I'm working with a team of remarkable educators, faculty and staff and administrators, and we've got to change the curriculum. We've got to do it in short order, and I mean across the institution and within 3 years. And because of the level of work, we're trying to do it all within 2 years, and it's unreasonable, not rational. And guess what? Because we were in a state of flow, we had the same vision in terms of getting our students to a higher level of success. It happened. And I sat back and I remember marveling at the remarkable leadership of those individuals. The collective was flow. More importantly, fast forward, I'm given some incorrect information, so I go check the data, and the data blows me away. We were supposed to have a percentage increase in student performance of at least 1%. Like, really? And I told my team, we got to do better than that. We should be striving for 50. And if we land among whatever, it's like striving for the stars, we land among whatever, fine. All the other institutions, 1% increase. They rose to the level of expectation. Guess what we did? On most indicators, we were between 4 and 10%. I was just like, wow. And only on one, we were at 1.5%. Key thing is we were driven. We knew the end. And then we backed up. We continued to affirm our purpose. We knew the end we needed to achieve. In all of these different instances where I experienced teams of people, being among teams of people and experiencing flow, oh my God, the purpose was so clear. And yes, there were challenges. And let me tell you, it wasn't a cookie cutter, oh, you do this and you get to that magical. No. You had to honor the people, honor everyone, honor the circumstances, listen for understanding, do some of the kinds of things I'm going to go through here in a systematic way. But let me tell you, honor, and be grateful for everything, including the nonsense that happens. Because for whatever reason, that nonsense was critical. And some of the nonsense helped to redirect, refocus, reclarify, and actually ensure that we got to a better place than we would have perhaps gotten had we not had that distraction, those detractors, or even it's what seemed to be insurmountable barriers. And yet, when I talk about flow, people, even when they talked about, oh my God, we've got too much to do, whatever, but in their behavior was this sense of peace. Oh yeah, we got it. We got it. You need any help? No, we got it. We got it, Dr. Webb. Don't even worry about it. So with peace of mind, what happens? You integrate the following in your daily habit. You relax. You stop doing. You're quiet. You're reflective. You're open-minded to others, to life itself. You forgive self and others always. You're grateful. You demonstrate gratitude. I'm grateful that you're here. I'm grateful that whether directly or indirectly, I am learning from you in order to enhance this broadcast on a weekly basis so that not only are people inspired, but walk away with some tool you can use immediately. Whether it's from a guest that we have or from me, I'm humble enough to know that it may be from you because you may provide a comment. Okay? Tomoko writes, wow, you wrote a dissertation in 30 days. That's inspiring. And you were proactive when there was obstacles in finding editing services. Champions are persistent. Nothing stops them. You're so right, Tomoko. And I know that's you. But I know literally in the midst of my writing that dissertation, you know what happened? 9/11. I remember sitting down doing my thing and I looked up and I had rarely had a radio or a television on, but I had it on, but I had it on mute. It was on the news. And I looked up and I saw an aircraft going to a building. I thought, that's kind of weird. What are they doing there? But I was focused and I didn't stop. I took myself out of that room because I had the computer, the television on in this 10 by 15 room I was living in and sleeping on the floor as a grad student, whatever it takes, folks. I took my items down the hall so I wouldn't be distracted by a television. And it wasn't until later on that night, because this was early in the morning, later on that night that I realized, oh my God, the gravity of it all. But you know what? I did my meditative prayer. I asked the Great Spirit to comfort all those who were devastated, including individuals that might be loved ones of mine that I knew directly, and I kept moving because I had it in, and where I could add support indirectly from afar, up close, with people who were local, I did. I kept focused because that was a major distraction for good reasons. People were horrified. We all were as a country. It didn't stop me. And it doesn't stop you. When you have a purpose that is absolutely your fantasy vision, your remarkable gift to yourself, and you elevate it to a goal that's worthy of you, all of a sudden life just, the level of inner understanding and inner peace gets deeper and deeper, and you're like, wait, this, I want more of this. And in the process of this, remember what gives you joy. Remember what gives you joy. And if you don't know what gives you joy, begin to experiment. Do what I used to do. Actually, no, don't do what I used to do. But I'm going to tell you some things I used to do. Do what works for you. I used to go to a park and I was so bored. I would just start flailing my arms and start dancing as I rushed around the track at the park. And then, weeks later, I went to the park just kind of, hanging out. And I'll never forget, people were doing exactly what I was doing for days over the previous week. It was a routine. It was so funny. So if that works for you, that works for you. If you need to turn on music in your living room like I do, when I'm really bored for 5 minutes, I love dancing, but I turn it on for a moment and I dance for a moment. I'm done. Joy. If watching some extraordinary set of comedians just crack you up, joy. Talking to your best friends or your child or your lover, and they're just jokesters, joy. Do what brings you joy. Read, swim, fly, travel. Do what brings you joy. We all deserve it. Okay, so let me move a little bit faster because I could stay in this space. So one of the folks I want to reference, Narit, I think it's Narlik. He's a Forbes Council member, leadership coach, and a former VP of talent development. In May of 2019, he wrote, "How peaceful, powered leaders thrive." How peaceful, powered leaders thrive. They set their own reality. They build people up, folks. They put service to others ahead of service to self, and yet they take good care of themselves. They don't negate themselves in the process. They invest in others. They set sacred time for themselves. That's the investment. They empower self and others to succeed. Okay? I can go into details about that, but you understand the power of holding yourself accountable. Once you've identified your life purpose, if you recognize things are not complimenting you, it doesn't matter what it is. Whether it's in the workplace, you have a dream, and that workplace is harming you, then figure out what kind of environment you can create yourself or an environment you could move into. It may even be in the same company, an environment you can move into that honors you. And let me say something, until you honor yourself, until each one of us honors ourselves, it's hard to expect others to honor us. When we take good care of ourselves, we're eating right, we're thinking in healthy ways, we're consuming ideas, feelings, etc., that complement our well being. When we're living our dream, it's quite frankly hard for anyone to harm any one of us, although they may try. Live your purpose, and all of a sudden, the vista opens up and you can see with greater clarity. So I appreciate Jared because what he says is that put service to others really first. When you do that, all of a sudden, what appears to be a trial and tribulation for you, you're like, oh my goodness, let me put this in perspective. Let me be grateful for my experiences. Let me be grateful that I can work through my experiences to help others. When we help others, when we're in time of distress, all of a sudden we forget about a distress. And something happens to the body. The body begins to heal even more. Because you know what? The focus is on being in service. The focus is not on, I'm sick, woe is me. And I don't mean to negate folks who are in pain. When you're in pain, that's real. But imagine if you can take seconds of that moments that you're in pain and think about someone, and just even if it's a powerful as a prayer, and send out a meditative prayer to them. Wow, you're gifting yourself in the process. What does he also say? Jared reminds us, as someone who led in as an executive for 20 years, he said, stop pushing the business first. When you start pushing and emphasizing and elevating and honoring and celebrating people first, oh my goodness, you don't even have to push the business. Get out of the way because they're taking care of business. You honor people, and they're magnificent examples of that. And yet, it's not sufficiently replete. We need to have that where it's just what we expect across the board. And then something he reminds us that it's easy to sacrifice one's own ethics. Hopefully, one is aware of his or her own ethics, values, principles to align with, to function with integrity. Yet too often, we function as cowards. It's so easy to be in an organization and to want to stay in that organization because you need the money, because you want to be promoted, because whatever reason, you love the organization. And someone demands that you do something that you know is either illegal, unethical, or otherwise undermines your core values. You do it. Didn't matter what it is. You harm somebody because you're told to do it. You negate someone because you're told to do it. When you do that, you literally, not only are you not courageous as a leader, you jeopardize that inner peace, and it spirals. And it's hard to get that back. Yet you can get it back. You have to build it from the moment you're in now, because that's the only moment we ever have is now. And you go forward with that new set of habits. So when you're confronted with a challenge, and again, remember that example I gave earlier with my advisor who was throwing everything at me, everything. And I was like, okay, I don't know what this is, but all righty, that one hit. Okay, but let's just stay focused. And she was like, it didn't disturb you. Well, it actually did disturb me, but not where it threw me off my center. And even if it had thrown me off my center, I understood my center in order to get back there. And that's what I want to remind you. That's what we want to remind you. You have a center. Understand that center. So, what's an example of someone who, when they're living that inner peace as a leader in an organization, what are examples of their success? Sis? Well, before I say that, I want to say something. Lao Tzu is one of the many Chinese philosophers and much more that I love to quote at times. He reminds us that when we empty our mind of all thoughts, especially just clutter, there's a lot of stuff going on out there. It's easy just to be caught up in it. We just empty our mind and let our hearts connect to that heart, that core of who we are. We empty our minds, our hearts can be at peace. And that's what we're talking about when we have a clear purpose for our lives. We're centered where we are emotionally committed to that purpose. And as a leader, when we have inner peace, what do? We offer a steady hand in difficult situations. Because of that stability, the organization can thrive. It's more likely the organization will be successful. Why? Because when there's an issue, we can operate from a standpoint of clarity because there's sufficient peace. We're not emotionally distraught, caught up in whatever it happens to be. And the other piece of this inner peace, it's important to leadership, not only because a steady hand in difficult situations, it also allows us as leaders to connect to others. And when we do that, we're honoring the fact that all circumstances or conditions are always bigger than us as an individual. So allowing ourselves to honor the fact that we all have egos, but minimize that and elevate the importance of everybody in that organization. Examples of successes: better return on investment, whether it's projects, activities in the organization's achievement in terms of getting more clients and meeting the needs of more clients, which has a powerful transformative effect in building the base of the organization. Create a high attainment culture where people not only are valued, they understand with clarity the purpose. They understand that it doesn't matter what the challenges are, you can get through it because of the peace of mind that's modeled that encourages them to do the same thing. Understand and solve business challenges and cultural practices. So there may be history where a new leader comes in and there's a history of things not going very well or seeming to go well on the surface, but underneath there's all this hidden tension. Well, a very a leader that has that inner peace will confidently say, "Give it to me. Let's just share it. Let's get it out. Let's give it the light of day so that we can systematically address it, especially as it affects the nature of the culture and the ability of the business to address external in addition to the internal challenges." Allows for one to execute organizational strategy in order to understand how to get to where one's going to get. They have to develop sound strategies. And that's based upon a whole set of other steps. And we're going to talk about organizational strategy as a precondition to real leadership success. And then, of course, consistency. Consistently accomplish their objective, taking initiative, taking action. Those are among the bottom line when you have that inner peace. When you don't have inner peace, you're going to go wherever the hot buttons take you. But when you know the hot buttons are just part of the landscape, you don't have to go here just because there's a hot button. You have to go here because you may actually decide the middle is a place to stay and that you deploy individuals to address those. You don't have to do it. You're more strategic. Why inner peace is important? I think I've already mentioned this, but I'd like to quote Chris Myers. He's CEO of Bowtree. And in a Forbes article, this guy who works in the tech arena, he enables organization. And he's an MSNBC contributor and author, Enlightened Entrepreneurship. What did he say? Find your spiritual core. Using mindfulness practices, I call it prayer, I call it whatever works for you. But when you're clear about your purpose, you can go there and allow your mind to be empty of thought, relax, be centered, be open, and guess what? You move. And there's something he talks about, guard against the extremist of life. So this casual detachment. So remember I said you can be in a leadership role, you've got a hot button over there, hot button over there, and those who are not grounded, they don't have the inner peace, they're running, they're chasing whatever the hot button is because they want to appear to be in control. I used to jokingly tell people the only thing that I'm in control is being in control of being out of control. And even then I'm not certain. So control is an illusion. When you have clarity, you have control. When you have peace of mind, you have control. But all the stuff outside of you, that's going to happen no matter what you do. You get to influence what happens, but life is going to happen. And the key thing is act in such a way where life reinforces your priorities, reinforces your perspective, reinforces your wiring. Laws of vibration, laws of attraction, laws of correspondence. I can go on in terms of the universal laws. A steady hand is what he reminds us. In uncertain times, you've got to have a steady hand. Okay? Calm, collected leaders can literally make change on a dime. They're much more open to making change that addresses crisis. People who are in the midst of control, we always end it this way. You've got to do it this way. There's no wavering from the status quo. Well, this moment is not the same as last moment. Giving yourself room to succeed. And that's another piece. We have a tendency of thinking in terms of, I must just do it this way. Leverage all possibilities. I must follow this path. Leverage the different paths. And a precondition to success is always taking risk, strategic risk. How does inner peace enable leadership success? First of all, leaders with a strong sense of inner peace offer that steady hand. I want to emphasize that. They're a source of stability, and they connect to something bigger than themselves, to others. Edward D. Hess, professor of administration, but he also worked for 20 years. Oh, actually, he worked for 20 years. And he's a senior executive, and he's co-authored a number of books, and he's all over the place in conveying guidance, providing guidance to executives of businesses. He wrote, "Why Inner Peace is the Workplace Skill You Didn't Know You Needed." And he acknowledged it's a touchy-feely subject. And yet, like a lot of what we call qualitative features of leadership, this is a powerful one. This is an integral one. And it's often mistaken as something else. This inner peace is mistaken as control. No. This inner peace is often mistaken as, oh, the person has many years of experience and expertise. Not necessarily. This inner peace is mistaken often as something else. It's powerful. And what does he say? Cultivating inner peace is a hot business skill. It actually is a survival skill. And he says, keeping your head down and following orders just doesn't work in today's world. He also said, ego is an inhibitor to real leadership effectiveness and real leadership achievements. Yes, there are leaders who their ego takes up the room and their team makes things happen anyway, right? And can you imagine what the team would otherwise do if that leader could just leave the ego in the shower or at home and bring in and magnify the power, the genius, the expertise of everyone with whom he works, he serves, leading, facilitating their success? We don't know until we do it. And thanks for all the leaders among you who do this naturally or do this because you've learned to do it. But however you've gotten there, it's not just innate capacity of people based upon their wisdom. It is literally something you can learn to do. And so we, as a reminder, give mindful meditation a try, he says. I say, have faith. Know what your faith is. Know what your purpose is. And that's what you meditate on. People are like, I don't know how to meditate. Well, of course, if you don't have a clear purpose for your life and or you've not clarified just what your faith is. And I don't mean just religion. We're all spirit beings in this human form. And hopefully we're taking care of this temple, which allows us to be even more magnificent, reflecting the source from which we came, we're part of, and we return to. So think about that. Faith, purpose. When you go into a meditative state, you can be clear. You can find peace pretty efficiently. Engage in acts of gratitude. Always be grateful. We're going to talk about that just in one session, just the power of gratitude. Create micro joys throughout your workday. We talked about joy. Whatever it is that makes you smile, laugh, feel, even if you don't smile on an outward side, inside you're smiling. And all of your cells, the energetic forces in your body are just aligning to be perfectly healthy because you're joyful rather than the inverse. Create your daily intentions. I strongly encourage, I've had many guests here. We've all strongly encouraged you wake up with intentions, you go to bed with intentions. You wake up and ideally write down what you're about, where you want to go, what you want to experience. And literally, before you go to bed, you honor what you achieved. You may have 25 things on the list, you may have 30 things on the list, and you achieve 5. Honor them. Be grateful because those 5 hopefully were the most important because you've prioritized, they were the most important. And so you take the next day, you redo the list or you update it or you use the same list and then you reprioritize and you are grateful before you go to bed. So you're grateful that you're able to be up, be vertical, function, listen, hear, engage, touch, impact, etc. And then at night, you're grateful because you're able to do that. And you're going to a dream state to manifest how you're going to do it tomorrow. Whatever it is that gets you to that purpose, that gets you to actualizing the faith that you are really about. I like some of the quotes. Jimi Hendrix, I don't know those of you who remember him. Even though I was young, I loved the essence of this man's spirit. He says, when the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. Imagine all the people living life in peace. Some of you already know the rest of this song. It's profound. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will be as one. John Lennon, not just musician, philosopher. When you make peace with yourself, you make peace with the world. Who is that? Maha Ganesha. It's not enough to talk about peace. One must believe in it. And it isn't enough to believe in it. One must work at it. Eleanor Roosevelt. John F. Kennedy. Peace is a daily, a weekly, a monthly process, gradually changing opinions, slowly eroding old barriers, quietly building new structures. Think about the brain. what we know from brain research is that literally when we get new details, new information, new experiences, the brain automatically goes to look for pre-existing schema, information, knowledge to link it to. If we have none, we're creating new connections. There's firing going in our brain, creating new connections. In the same way, when we build new habits, we're not used to inner peace. Take the time. Give yourself a minimum of 30 days, preferably 90 days, where you engage new habits, no more than two at a time, but a new habit or new habits every single day to get to that peace. Coming up with your plans for the day, meditating on it, praying, dancing on whatever you do, and going tonight in gratitude, new habits to get you to that healthier place. And I want to make a note. Thank you so much, Zerica. She writes, great topic today. Thank you so much, sweetheart. One of my many nieces and nephews, and she's absolutely a gem. I just want you to understand that I want you to remember, because I think a lot of us understand this. I want you to remember, if not all of us know this, remember, we are creating our reality every single moment. We believe we're healthy. Oh my God, our body is literally rewiring things to ensure we're healthy. And then, of course, we're picking out healthier foods. We're picking out healthier people to interact with. We're engaging in healthier activities. We're reading healthier books. We're looking at healthier. You get my point. We believe someone in our life is absolutely trustworthy. We engage in behaviors to validate that. Now, remember, when they behave a certain way, honor who they are, good, bad, or indifferent. Honor them. We're not about changing someone, ideally. We're about influencing them in a healthy way. We are who we are. We have a right to be who we are, as well as everyone else has a right to be who they are. Not in a way where it infringes on the ability and freedom of others, although we know across the planet that happens all too often, and even in our local neighborhoods. But we get to shift that. And part of shifting those behaviors that are not healthy for the rest of us, for the planet itself, is our mindset. We've got to think, behave, behave. And before we know it, things transform. Shifts happen. Transformation is actualized. We have to begin with clarity and stick with clarity. And when we understand our purpose and our faith, oh my God, inner peace is just natural. It's not a place we need to aspire to. It just happens. I like this by Mike Keller-Ditka. For those of you who are sports players, you may know this guy, American former football player, coach, television commentator, and much, much more. He wrote, success isn't measured by money or power or social rank, although we try to do that in this society and across the globe, right? Success is measured by your discipline and inner peace. As someone who played sports, when you know that, and many of us witnessed the Olympic experiences recently, one has to be disciplined. One has to be clear what they're trying to achieve. That discipline comes from being clear. And then all of a sudden, that inner peace is manifested. Powerful. He's on it. And he also said, you're never a loser until you quit trying. So true. In fact, when we have experiences of failure, that is powerful. We need more of those in our lives where we're learning from them and we're growing and we're tweaking, and all of a sudden success is remarkable. When we have very little failures and we experience success, we probably had the wrong goal. It was an easy one. When we have a lot of failure and we experience success, those are the ones that people are like, oh my God, how'd you do that? They don't know about the years of trial and error. When you stick to it, oh my God, the benefits, the rewards are remarkable. And Mike is on it. Success isn't permanent and failure isn't fatal. So The title of this broadcast today was Successes, Leadership Successes, right? Didn't say success, it said inner peace, a path to leadership successes. Makes it very clear. Success is not static. You don't get there and say, I'm always successful. You got to work. And so Stacy Brookman, uh, she is a resilience and storytelling expert. I love that. What does she write? She, in terms of peace, what does she say? She said, focus your attention on those things you can control. Remember I said about control earlier? Spend time in nature. Be true to yourself. Find what mind. It's like mining for gold. Be mindful and mine for the right foods. Mind what you eat and be mindful for the right food. Exercise on a regular basis. My goodness. I can tell when a loved one or a colleague or someone I just met is eating right, is exercising, is consuming the right thoughts, whether it's through music or it's through television or it's through radio, whatever. I can tell through what they talk about and how they behave and how they walk. In fact, if they say nothing and they just walk, I can tell if they're exercising, if they're eating the right food, and if their consciousness and it's in a healthy state. That's not judgment, it's just real. And we can actually feel it. We know when people are in a healthy space. And let me tell you something, if any of us are not, we get to switch it. We get to change it. I know in neighborhoods, there are food deserts. So figure out a way to get out of that food desert and get to a place where it has quality meat and food. I remember living in a food desert as an adult. I went to a grocery store and the meat was horrible. And yet they were selling the meat and people were buying it. But if that's all you experience, you don't know. The meat was sick and people were eating it. Same thing with vegetables, all these chemicals in it. You can do organic. You can get out of that food desert, even if it's just to get your food. Do it. Shift you like that. She also says, of course, be assertive, do good deeds, exercise on a regular basis. I want to emphasize that. Meditate, I say, in faith. When you have faith, meditation, prayer, it's just natural. You can do it. I used to do it. People say, well, when do you meditate? When do you pray? You said you meditate. I don't understand this thing called meditative prayer. I said, I do it all day long. What do you mean? We're in meetings all day long. I do it while in the meetings. You don't have to close your eyes and do kumbaya or something else, or you can meditate. You can be in prayer all day long. It's consciousness, folks. And the key thing, there's many people that I value. I wish I could say all their names right now. They remind me that balance is not only a thing you must achieve, but should become a lifestyle. In other words, you don't have to say, I'll have my faith over here, my family over here, I'll take care of finance over there, I'll have fun sometimes. You could integrate it all. I have work and then you can integrate it all. You literally can have it all. It's like having all the food you want to eat, but you don't need to overdo it on any one thing. I love chocolate. I used to hide chocolate for myself. That's how addictive I was to chocolate. But you don't have to be overwhelmed by it. So I learned to have chocolate 3 times a month, sometimes 4 times. But I don't do it every single day anymore. I love figs. Oh my God, during the fig season. And avocado. But you just do it in moderation. Honor you. Balance. So what's the essence of today? And you have a right to value you. Each one of us is lovely at our core. I know. I can hear some people say, oh, no. I know some people just absolutely ugly at their core. I firmly believe we come from the same source, we go back to the same source. Our paths are in different directions. Some of them are quite frankly ugly, evil, and heinous. And yet, that does not mean that that person can't come out of that. And then there's some people who say they can never do any bad. They're just inherently loving, etc. Be careful. Because who we are is complex beings. We have the capacity to do a wide range of things. The key thing is our choice. As humans, we get to choose. And I encourage us to choose a path that is clear because we've decided on our purpose. To choose to have faith in something so that we could have faith in someone. So we can have faith in ourselves. Recognize that we're part of something, an ecosystem that's much larger than we can even fathom. Or maybe some of you can, because you're that connected, so brilliant. And I honor that. We get to be, we get to feel, we get to imagine, we get to honor the real essence of who we are. When we live aligned with whatever passion we have, that's part of that fantasy vision for ourselves, that then is elevated up to a purpose that is operationalized in terms of a measurable goal that allows us to create strategy that we implement, takes action on, and before we know it, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, we're looking back and saying, wow, I achieved it. Not only that, I've exceeded. And then we get to create it again, a new purpose for our lives. Make it big and make that goal worthy of you. Honor the fact that you can be in perfect peace now. You don't have to strive. I honor you, and I'm grateful for you for choosing to show up and be your best. However you define that. Best meaning healthiest self, considering the 5 F's that ultimately allows us to experience freedom. Why don't?